Cvent went through quite a bit of a journey as we got everybody on Slack. Our tech group of about 1,000 people were using it, but the rest of the business is we had a bit more traditional instant messaging and email platforms. We heard a lot of our employees asking to be on the common platform and actually asking for Slack.
We've tripled our throughput while keeping our employee costs consistent. So we're just getting more out of people.
One of the things that Slack is really great at is it's integrated with all these tools. It's integrated to our GitHub, it's integrated to our Jenkins, and therefore it's easy for developers to sort of follow the production.
There is no physical barrier between our leadership team and our frontline employees, and that's very intentional. And that literally means that you can access our CTO and co-founder and ask him a quick question about a post or a project that you're working on.
社長のつぶやきっていう、チャンネルを作ったんですが、メッセージ性の高いものを打ちました。ほぼ社員の7割ぐらいが書いてくれるんですね。上も下もなくなる、これはホームです。横も関係なく、時間も空間もなくなるっていう。
When it comes to deploying a new application as a brand new team, you simply invoke a very simple Slack command. And so as a developer, it's really reducing the complexity to get your code from your machine into a production environment and ultimately in front of Vodafone customers.
Managers typically are the bottleneck for information at an organization. With Slack, now we encourage everybody to go straight to the right Slack channels. So instead of waiting days or months, they can answer a customer's question on that same call, thereby increasing the likelihood that we'll be able to make that sale and further the relationship with that customer.
We're about innovation. We're about changing and growing. So like having something that enables that is just more power to everybody.
Hello, and thank you all for being here. We appreciate you joining us today, especially given the circumstances. While we're disappointed we can't all be together in person, at this time, like many of you, we're putting the health of our employees, their families, and the broader community first. This transition has been sudden and disruptive. While we all have business continuity plans, no one had a playbook for this. It can feel scary, and it is definitely full of unfamiliar challenges. You are not alone in this. We are not alone in this, and that's why we're here today. We know that others have dropped out of this event, but we're here because you're an important audience, and this work has never been more important. If there's ever been a time to focus on communication and collaboration across the enterprise, this is it. Your teams and your companies are relying on you. But let's be clear about what the challenge is here. This is not about remote work in any normal sense. This is not what everyone meant when we started talking about telecommuting a couple decades ago. Working through a pandemic is not just working from home. It requires an improvisational agility that is hard to achieve in the best of times, let alone when employees are facing the chaos of a home life where all the normal rules are off. I'm recording this right now from my attic. These kinds of setups were unusual enough that I ended up with my photo in the New York Times in an article talking about how the CEOs of companies like Google, Cisco, and Pfizer were handling the situation. But I'm only up in the attic now because I managed to get my hands on a 100-foot coax cable to drop out the window and down into the laundry room in the basement so I could move the modem. That laundry room is where I had to record our first all-hands in an all-remote world. And to be clear, I've got it good. Across all of our organizations right now, there are people struggling to balance childcare with work when all normal systems are down. There are people trying to deal with overloaded VPNs and their too slow home internet connections. There are spouses in constant negotiation over the prime spot to do calls and makeshift desks made out of cardboard delivery boxes. So yeah, these are not normal times. And extraordinary times bring many new challenges, but they also have a way of bringing out the most fundamental challenges into sharper relief. For us at Slack, there's a pervasive belief across the company that we were made for this, that we were made to help. When we were in the process of going public, we had to file what's called an S1. This is a document where we try to define the business. This is what we wrote. We didn't have a global pandemic in mind when we wrote that an increasingly dynamic world demands ever higher levels of organizational alignment and agility, but it is more true now than ever that that's what enterprises need if they're going to survive. So as I said, the work you all do is more important than ever. The theme of this conference, your enterprise's communication and collaboration strategy, is more important than ever. That's why we're here today. In a few moments, I'm going to hand it over to Tamar Yehoshua, our Chief Product Officer, who will show you why Slack is the only product that delivers a truly enterprise-grade solution for businesses of every size, how we help you align and scale, meet your security and compliance needs, and deliver the employee engagement that you must have in order to transform the way your teams work. Afterwards, Brian Elliott, our General Manager of Platform, will explain how Slack makes your employees more productive and your entire software investment more valuable by giving your employees the ability to access all of their other tools wherever they are. But before I do, I want to try to explain why I think Slack is such a powerful tool for achieving organizational agility. The ability for individuals, teams, and organizations to maintain alignment while continually transforming to meet evolving challenges. Some of you already know Slack and rely on it every day. Others are new to the idea, so it is probably useful to define it. Slack is a channel-based messaging platform. It's the only channel-based messaging platform that is enterprise-grade at enterprise scale. To understand that, let's talk about channels. The easiest way to understand Slack is to say that Slack replaces email inside your company. If Slack is an alternative to email, then channels are the alternative to inboxes. Whereas inboxes put the individual first, channels put the team or the organization first. This is a more profound difference than you might imagine. Email is the sea almost all organizations are swimming in, so it can be hard to actually see it. Large enterprises can exchange 1 million emails or more a day. But look at it all from one person's perspective. Almost all of those messages are invisible to her. She might only receive 23 email a day. Hundreds of thousands of updates given, questions asked and answered, what could be critical information, but she can't get at it. If someone else receives 57, that's still minuscule as a percentage of all the messages that may be relevant to them. The rest is completely locked away and only accessible if another human being manually sends it. And even then, it is only one message at a time. So we end up in this crazy situation, each person with their own inbox. And these inboxes are partial, fragmented, and radically incomplete. Every single view, the primary window people have to what is going on in their organization, every single view is unique and different from every other. When someone leaves the organization, their history goes with them. And when somebody new joins, they start with nothing. Think about that. The organization has all this email, this incredible rich history, all the decisions made, all the questions answered, all the data, all the documents, the celebrations, the defeats, the critical announcements. But if you're a new employee, you literally have access to none of it. Nothing. Despite the fact that there's all this rich history. So, what's the alternative? Well, first, let's turn the email into messages. Now, rather than inboxes, we're going to organize these messages into what we call channels. Those channels can correspond to anything. Projects, teams, planning sprints, office locations, business units, functional areas, temporary channels for things like planning an offsite or your participation in a conference like this, literally anything that is happening across the company. Once all communication moves into channels, everyone knows where to go to ask their question, to give their update, to get caught up. The impact of this is transformative. Like IBM, HSBC, and Target, we rely on channels to stay aligned. The last few weeks have been a great example. In addition to everything else that was going on, including a massive surge of new users and enormous expansion among existing customers, we had to pull off the same overnight transition to working from home that most of you did. We spun up channels to handle the challenges around facilities and physical security, HR and policy, internal communications, as well as response planning, proactive outreach, and new training programs for customers. And because we were able to use channels to stay coordinated, we went from a decision on Friday, a global announcement to our 2,000 employees in 15 offices across 10 countries on Saturday, to our first day working from home on Monday. At the same time, we were able to keep up with the normal demands of a fast-growing business. I could check in on executive hires in progress in the hiring channels. I could check the situation with specific customers in their accounts channels, and with the company at large in announcement channels, which spanned the entire company. Sure, in theory, we could do all this with email. But in practice, that would mean I was CC'd on thousands of emails a day, and that's just not possible. In times like these, it's clear people and organizations need to shift the way they work. and it's been incredible to see our customers use and trust Slack in this new world, even in the largest enterprise organizations across the globe. So with that, I'm happy to introduce our Chief Product Officer, Tamari Hoshua, to show you more about how and why these enterprise organizations are using Slack.
Thanks, Stuart. And to all of you watching, I appreciate your flexibility, and I'm glad we were able to pivot to this new format. This shift to remote work has introduced new challenges for all of us, on top of focusing on keeping our families and employees safe. Stuart talked about how people are using channels in Slack to change the way we work. What I'd like to talk to you about today is how Slack can support all of your enterprise needs, including helping you and your organization through this transition to remote work. Slack is enterprise grade. We built Slack working closely with our enterprise customers to understand their requirements. It's been a 6-year journey of co-creation, taking our customers into account all along the way. And that's why I'm confident that Slack meets the needs for all of you. One of our earliest large customers is IBM. Our relationship with IBM goes all the way back to 2014. Not long after we first launched, when a few IBM employees found the product, word spread quickly how effective Slack was at driving collaboration, and this fueled the rise of Slack throughout IBM. We knew they were going to push the limits of our original architecture, and we aligned our roadmap to support their scale. We re-architected our service so that IBM could have the agility and flexibility they needed in the way that they use channels and workspaces. As a result, our data architecture allows our customers to spin up organization-wide channels for all of their employees to keep them informed, which is critical during times of crisis like what we're experiencing right now with the coronavirus. And as you may have heard recently in the news, our long-term partnership with IBM resulted in all 360,000 of their global employees using Slack as their channel-based messaging platform. With global customers like IBM going wall-to-wall on Slack, and especially in recent weeks with the increased demand for Slack, we provide the reliability customers need and expect. When organizers in Germany needed a channel-based messaging platform to coordinate a coronavirus hackathon with 40,000 developers, they chose Slack. We deliver industry-leading reliability with 99.99 uptime commitment, or no more than 4.3 minutes of downtime per month. Our aggregated availability over the past 6 months is much, much better, at 99.998%. Our systems are designed to automatically accommodate surges in traffic, and they're highly distributed around the world to ensure redundancy. If one region fails, traffic will flow to the next closest region seamlessly. As organizations scale with Slack, we make sure we're also meeting their security requirements. We again work closely with our early enterprise customers, many of whom are the most security conscious, to build a product that has earned their trust. We heard from them the need to have increased control over the sensitive data their employees share in Slack. That's why we built Enterprise Key Management, or EKM, a feature that allows customers to bring their own keys to encrypt data. We partnered with a handful of organizations to develop EKM, including a global financial services firm. The feature launched to general availability in March of 2019, and a year later, there are close to 80 customers using EKM. As Slack has taken off in financial services, we've made sure that we're meeting mobile device and information security requirements. Customers like HSBC and TD Ameritrade were using Slack inside their tech and dev groups, and they needed specific security features like biometric authentication and remote session management before rolling out Slack more broadly. These features have all now been delivered. As you can see in this quote, HSBC is now successfully using Slack in their organization with all the security they require. Along with security, compliance is important for our customers from regulated industries. We're helping financial services companies like PIMCO, Lincoln Financials, and AIG get their work done in Slack by providing FINRA compliance. We're HIPAA compliant, so healthcare organizations like One Medical can use Slack. Today, we have nearly 50 healthcare organizations using Slack as their channel-based messaging platform. We're also investing in support organizations in the public sector to use Slack in a FedRAMP compliant manner for their work. More than a dozen federal government agencies are using Slack. Our compliance features mean that companies from any sector or industry will be able to leverage Slack to help them be more productive. In addition to supporting the scale and reliability needs of large customers, we want to ensure that our product is one that people continue to love. If people don't use the product, then they don't get value out of it. We found users spend, on average, more than 9 hours per workday on Slack. What does this active usage look like? It adds up to more than 5 billion actions weekly on average, including reading and writing messages, uploading and commenting in files, performing searches, and interacting with apps. And we're always raising the bar on the quality of the user experience. I'm really proud of the updates we've recently made to Slack to make it easier to engage with and more organized. We've been thrilled to hear so much positive feedback. In addition, we've made it simpler and faster to access all of the applications you use right from inside Slack. Shortly, Brian is going to talk to us about the Slack platform and how it's helping teams be more productive with the tools they love. For our large enterprise customers, we made sure they had access to the changes during a pre-release period so that they had time to prepare in advance. Our latest update is especially helpful for all of the new users now turning to Slack for remote work. As we were getting ready to roll out the update, the coronavirus pandemic brought new urgency to the timeline. We saw an increase in demand, and so we worked to get the changes out faster. We wanted to make sure to give the best experience we could to our customers who are trying to figure out how to stay productive during this challenging period. As a company, we're doing whatever we can to help people collaborate in this new environment. Another way we found to help people and organizations impacted by coronavirus is to connect them in shared channels, a channel shared between multiple organizations. Slack launched shared channels for general availability last fall. Today, there are nearly 100,000 shared channels connecting more than 32,000 organizations. Remote Academia is a global hub for educators to share best practices on remote learning. With over 2,000 educators and practitioners from 500 universities, such as UC Berkeley, Princeton, Yale, Arizona State University, and the University of Washington. They asked us for help connecting in Slack with other organizations to share best practices on how to transition to fully remote learning. Now, institutions can add Remote Academia's shared channel to their existing Slack organization and add as many members as they like from within their own workspace. We're seeing so much organic adoption of shared channels to aid this crisis in every domain. It's satisfying to see how the platform we're building is naturally fitting with the needs of these types of organizations. Over the last few weeks, we all have been asked to adjust how our teams work together, finding ways to maintain organizational agility while also making sure our employees stay engaged with one another. And we've accomplished that all while ensuring our high standards of reliability, security, and compliance. We know that our product can meet the needs of any organization in any domain to help with collaboration and communication during periods of business as usual and exceptional times like the one we find ourselves in now. To go deeper into how our platform is driving engagement and value for organizations using Slack, here's Brian Elliott, our General Manager of the Slack platform.
Thanks, Tamar. I'm Brian Elliott, and I lead Slack's platform team. Thanks for watching us today. I'll be sharing how Slack's platform helps teams be more productive and how that's even more important in the world of remote work. Our mission is to make it easier for teams to share information and access their tools directly from Slack. We unlock value in the investments companies make in software and workflows. We're hearing every day now from customers that the value of our platform is even more clear when their teams are distributed. That's because we make information and tools accessible in Slack everywhere, on any device. Most of you have heard platform stories before. You've tried integration platforms, wikis, and web portals. But platform isn't a bolt-on for Slack. Slack is a platform. Integrations were part of Slack when it launched. The team had already built integrations, like sharing a Zendesk ticket, so that engineers could see the customer's real problem, getting notified when a meeting was coming up on your calendar, and integrating engineering workflows across Jira and GitHub. But even in the early days, Slack customers wanted more, a lot more. That's understandable because the average enterprise uses over 1,000 different SaaS tools, specialized tools that create real value in every function and vertical, but also create challenges, because the information teams need can get stuck in those functional silos, buried in browser tabs and email chains. Information then becomes hard to find, challenging to act on, and even harder to share across functional boundaries. Slack eliminates those information silos and connects people to the information they need. That means whatever tools you use, wherever you are, and whatever device, they'll work with Slack. We know that any one vendor is only a small fraction of your software budget. Slack works with all the tools companies use. That's why we opened up our platform. We provide open APIs, the Slack App Toolkit, and our app directory. We've gone from a few dozen integrated tools to over 2,000 apps in our directory. Everything from major providers like Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, and Workday, to tools from hundreds of startups. Partners like Box, Cisco, and Zoom build to Slack because it provides real value to their customers. It makes their tools easier to access and drives increased usage, so it makes their software more valuable. Customers like IBM and TD Ameritrade also build directly on our open APIs, custom apps for their unique needs. Today, there are more than 700,000 active developers who build apps for Slack. Partners and customers build on Slack because that's where people are engaged. Because your team is in Slack every day solving real problems, having the information and tools right there where the team is already communicating makes teams more productive. In the last few weeks, we're seeing teams use our platform at unprecedented rates. In the past month, Slack users have nearly tripled the rate at which they integrate their tools in Slack. Interoperability across all your tools helps teams stay productive whether you're in the office or remote. Today, I'll share some examples from our customers to show how teams are benefiting from three major types of integrations in Slack. First, enterprise-wide productivity tools like Office 365, Google Drive, and Zoom. Second, specialized tools, software used by particular functions or for specific use cases. And third, customizations that developers build to connect their company's tools and workflows. Let's start with productivity tools that people use every day: calendars, calls, and files. Every enterprise that I talk with has a mix of vendors across their company. Maybe you use Office 365, but also WebEx and Box. Or maybe you're a G Suite company, but also use Zoom and Dropbox. All these tools are valuable for doing your everyday work, but it can be distracting and frustrating to switch among apps all day long. That's where Slack comes in. Let's take World Fuel Services. They're a Fortune 100 company in energy services. One part of their business is supplying the US military with refueling operations in remote parts of the world, so you know speed and productivity are critical. They collaborate using Slack. For video, they also use Zoom. With Slack's mobile app, it's easy for World Fuel Services to start Zoom calls when they want to talk. With just one click, users can join a Zoom meeting right from Slack. This easy connection to video conferencing extends to other services. So if you're TD Ameritrade, which uses WebEx meetings, or your team uses RingCentral, BlueJeans, Hangouts, or a host of other services, your team gets a seamless experience with Slack. But we're not done. That's why we're excited to add our Microsoft Teams Calls app. The Teams Calls app lets you quickly launch or join a Teams call right in Slack. For us, this is just another example of how Slack lets companies integrate their solutions, often from more than one vendor. This week, we've opened up our Teams Calls app to any customer. Now, while video meetings are often the best way to connect, people being able to call phone numbers is important too. That's why we've worked with leading voice providers, so that now you can make calls to phone numbers right from Slack, using Zoom Phone, Cisco Jabber, RingCentral Dialpad, and more. Many companies use multiple vendors for video versus phone calls, meetings versus one-on-ones. But in a remote work world, having all of your calling tools at your team's fingertips in Slack keeps people connected and productive. That's why over the past month, we've seen almost 350% growth in the combination of native Slack calls and calls from partners like BlueJeans, Fuse, RingCentral, WebEx, and Zoom, right from Slack. We also make it easy to connect other essential tools like calendars and files. Take Hearst magazines. In a company with dozens of brands, from Car and Driver to Cosmo, it's easy to operate in silos. With Slack, Hearst can coordinate projects across teams and brands, across photographers and designers to engineers. Let's see how this works for Mike Solomon, Hearst Product Strategy Director. Here we're looking at Mike's calendar on mobile, powered by Slack's Outlook calendar integration. Mike doesn't have to jump between apps to prep for his day. All of his conversations and tools are right there in Slack. And when a team's meeting is about to start, Mike gets a notification and easily can join with the click of a button from Slack. After a meeting, Mike might need to share some files with his team. Customers can integrate one or many file providers into Slack: Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, and Office 365. With a few clicks, Mike can find the right OneDrive file and share it in the product leads channel for everybody to see. Then Slack helps prevent a common problem: forgetting that to give your team access to the document you just shared. The OneDrive app automatically checks SharePoint's access permissions and then prompts Mike to give the right people instant access. Removing friction, like enabling access to a file, keeps the whole team in the loop. Besides these productivity tools, calendars, calls, and files, our customers can also integrate specialized tools. There are more than 2,000 other tools for specific use cases in our app directory. For example, customers like Adobe and Verizon Media rely on the Salesforce app to accelerate deal cycles. Teams can set up a custom alert so the channel knows when a sales opportunity gets updated. With a few clicks, Lee can view the opportunity right from Slack and post the details for the whole team to see. Now, Zoe from Finance sees that the customer needs a price quote, so she lets the team know that she's on it. When key information is shared from Salesforce and brought into Slack, it reduces friction and helps cross-functional teams move quickly on deals. Every day, hundreds of thousands of Salesforce records are shared in Slack. And among messaging platforms, only Slack has this rich integration with Salesforce and so many others. Customers integrate all their tools into Slack. Vodafone uses the PagerDuty integration to improve uptime for their mobile app. Their DevOps team uses PagerDuty and Slack to escalate incidents to the right teams, who then can act in Slack in seconds to resolve issues, cutting incident resolution time from 20 minutes to less than 5. Customers like the retailer Overstock use Workday's integration to request time off, look up employees in the directory, and submit expenses on their mobile phone, all from inside Slack. Making it easy to get those tasks done increases productivity and compliance. Beyond the 2,000 productivity tools and specialized tools in our app directory, we know every company has unique internal tools and workflows. That's why companies build custom apps using our open APIs in our app toolkit. More than 600,000 custom apps for Slack were built by developers inside companies and are used every week to help customers solve their own needs. But there are never enough developers. So last year we launched Workflow Builder, our visual no-code tool that anybody can use to build custom workflows to automate routine processes in Slack. HubSpot uses Workflow Builder to simplify and speed up routine workflows like onboarding new hires. By automatically putting key information and resources in the hands of the new team members, they're productive sooner. Snowflake, the data warehousing company, uses Workflow Builder to automate surveys of their employees. Team members can share quick feedback without having to context switch or flip across apps. Teams use Workflow Builder for other jobs too, like help desk requests and organizing daily updates. We only launched Workflow Builder a few months ago, but already custom workflows have been used more than 4 million times by Slack users, with 50% growth in users in the last month alone. That's because the ability to help automate routine tasks is even more critical today during times of extreme change. We have workflow examples for distributed teams, templates that our customers use to support remote work. Workflows like Work from Home VPN Coach and Work from Home Preparedness Test are easing the transition to remote work. And like the rest of our platform, Workflow Builder is just part of Slack. It's not an extra tool to buy, install, and manage. It's a tremendously challenging time today. Putting the information that teams need at their fingertips and giving them easy access to their tools can help. We're glad to help teams by making it easier for them to get the most out of all their tools by integrating them into Slack. We're proud of the communities and the customers that we support. We invite all of you to join the more than 110,000 companies that are our customers using the Slack platform to make it easier for your teams to be in the loop, to stay connected with each other, and to be productive. With that, to close it out, I'd like to welcome back Slack's CEO, Stuart Butterfield.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Tamar. That's Slack. And I know it's not the easiest thing to describe. Our customers tell us all the time that Slack is the kind of thing that you don't know you need, but once you have it, you can't live without it. Why? It's channels instead of inboxes, team-based instead of individual-based, making it easy to find all of your colleagues and all of your conversations anytime. So you can pick up where you left off, get caught up when you need to, or bring new team members up to speed wherever you are, wherever they are. It's enterprise grade in the office, at home, or on mobile. The same industry-leading security and encryption, the ability to scale with the biggest companies in the world, 5 nines reliability, and all the compliance features you need wherever you are. And it's a platform that provides an easy, lightweight integration with all the other tools you use, so you can access them, share information from them, and take action through them. That's right, wherever you are. Slack has always been an intensely customer-driven company. When we went public, we said, your work is our work. And that's what we believe. We are enormously grateful to everyone who trusts us with their work, to everyone who trusts us to help them grow and transform and succeed, especially now. We know these are unprecedented times. Whatever your circumstances, whatever challenges you face, the old fundamental ones or the new pandemic ones, we are here to help. If we can help you make the transition to remote work, we're here. We know getting up to speed on a new tool isn't always easy, even under normal circumstances. We have all kinds of resources, from webinars to free live consultations. We will do everything we can to get you up and running as easily as possible. Just let us know. And make no mistake, we're right here with you, working from pandemic. This is a photo of Julie Legal, our Chief Marketing Officer, during an all-hands last week, just doing her jobs. All of them. And speaking of her jobs, I want to close by sharing a short video advertisement we've just released. It's really more of a PSA than anything else. If you're working with anyone or know anyone who's working on the front lines to fight COVID-19 and you think we could help them, please ask them to let us know. Share this video with them. We're all in this together, and whether it's free plans, upgrades, consultations, you name it, we're here to help. Thank you, and thanks for joining us today.